Hello friends. Have you ever met someone who could charm a room with just a smile, who listens deeply, negotiates masterfully, and somehow always seems to walk the tightrope between logic and emotion with impossible grace? Chances are, you've met a Libra born in the year of the rat. This isn't just a curious blend of the Western and Eastern zodiacs, it's a cosmic cocktail of diplomacy and drive, of refinement and resourcefulness. These people live in dualities, contradictions, and beautiful balances. And yet, when you peel back the polished exterior, a far more complex and fascinating story begins to unfold. So let's explore this rare astrological combination, Libra plus Rat, in all its glory and shadows. From love and marriage to business, sex, and friendship, to their life goals and inner darkness, this is a deep dive into the soul of someone who is born to both connect and conquer. Love, the art of the gentle pursuit. Love, for a Libra born in the year of the rat, is a complex, refined, and strategic endeavor. It is not something they stumble into blindly, nor is it a chaotic affair driven by raw emotion. To them, love is a dance, a nuanced choreography of timing, trust, and temperance. They approach romantic interest like a masterful game of chess, except the pieces are words, gestures, and subtle signals. Their charm is effortless, but their intentions are calculated. There's no rushing into things. They take their time, watching, learning, reading between the lines before they ever make a move. When they do, however, it's deliberate. They'll make you feel like the only person in the room, but behind their gaze is a mind still ticking, still measuring emotional ROI. They seek not only to fall in love, but to fall into something that makes sense on paper and in the heart. The influence of Venus makes Libras deeply affectionate, dreamy, and invested in harmony. They believe in soulmates. They light candles for ambiance, play records to set a mood, and write text messages like sonnets. But add the rat's energy, astute, frugal, and emotionally reserved, and that romantic idealism gets anchored. Where a typical Libra might get swept away by sentiment, the Libra rat pauses. They ask themselves, can I trust this person? Will this relationship help or hinder my future? They're constantly weighing the intangible joy of love against the practicalities of a shared life. Their heart flutters, but it also evaluates. They can fall fast, yes, but only when the odds seem favorable. They're not gamblers, they're investors in emotional capital. In terms of attraction, they are drawn to sophistication and sharpness. They are not looking for loud or flashy, but rather, thoughtful and articulate. A well-dressed thinker, a confident introvert, a calm powerhouse, that's their type. Intelligence excites them, wit seduces them, purpose impresses them. They are turned on by someone who has their own dreams, someone who's building something meaningful with their life. Outer beauty draws their eye, but it is ambition that keeps their attention. A partner who stagnates, who lacks curiosity or depth, quickly becomes invisible to them. To love a Libra rat is to constantly grow, intellectually, emotionally, and even aesthetically. When they do fall, their loyalty is profound. They become dedicated, considerate, and highly responsive to their partner's needs. They'll remember your favorite dessert, the date of your job interview, the way you like your pillows fluffed. They are nurturers in disguise, generous with affection and intentional with love. Their caring is quiet but powerful. They won't shout their love from rooftops, but they'll show up with medicine when you're sick, send encouragement when you're doubting yourself, and shield you from stress when life gets heavy. Their love is in the details. But don't assume that just because they're gentle, they're pushovers. The rat's core is survival-driven. Betrayal doesn't spark fights, it triggers detachment. If they feel emotionally unsafe, they'll emotionally evacuate, efficiently, cleanly, and without warning. They also guard their emotions with precision. Vulnerability doesn't come easily to them, not because they're incapable of it, but because they've learned to control it. They hate appearing desperate or needy. In fact, they pride themselves on their emotional independence. They want intimacy, but only with someone who's earned it. Until then, they may seem emotionally neat, curated, even a little hard to read. But it's all part of their process. They don't open all the doors at once. They open one at a time, testing how you respond, before inviting you all the way in. And if you pass the test, you gain access to a deep well of loyalty, humor, affection, and thoughtful companionship. However, their expectations in love are high. They want harmony, yes, but they also want mutual ambition, shared values, aesthetic alignment, and emotional consistency. They're not looking to fix anyone. If you come to them with emotional baggage you haven't unpacked, they won't offer to carry it, they'll encourage you to sort it out first. In relationships, they seek equilibrium. They'll give a lot, but they expect the same in return. When balance starts to tip, they don't erupt, they withdraw. Silent treatment? Not really. More like elegant detachment. They won't chase you with angry texts. They'll just vanish, and you'll be left wondering how someone so warm could go so cold, so fast. There's also a subtle possessiveness to their love. They won't smother you or control your time, but they do expect exclusivity, not just in the physical sense, but also in emotional investment. They want to feel like the main character in your story. If they sense you're emotionally distracted or scattering your energy too widely, they'll start to doubt the bond. And once doubt creeps in, it's very hard to unsee. Trust, once fractured, is nearly impossible to rebuild with them. Not because they're unforgiving, but because they believe trust should be pristine. Cracks make the foundation feel unstable, and a Libra-Rat doesn't do unstable. Despite their analytical tendencies, they are surprisingly sentimental. They'll save little notes, remember anniversary dates, and associate songs with moments. Nostalgia hits them hard. They value the story of your love almost as much as the day-to-day. And if you give them something symbolic, a book, a handwritten letter, a souvenir from a shared trip, they'll treasure it like a rare artifact. But again, these emotional soft spots are well guarded. You might not see their full tenderness for months, or even years. But when they finally show you their inner world, it's an honor. It means you've become their safe space, and for someone this complex, that's rare. So what does it take to love a Libra born in the year of the rat? Patience, for one. They don't rush love. Substance matters more than speed. You'll also need emotional maturity, as they have little tolerance for drama or codependency. Show them you have your life together, or are actively getting there. Engage their mind before you reach for their heart. Be consistent, be curious, and keep growing. And don't try to trick them or play games. They'll see right through it and leave before you realize they were ever emotionally present. In return, you'll get a partner who's thoughtful, refined, witty, supportive, and fiercely loyal. Someone who will stand beside you in silence when words don't help, who will nudge you toward your goals without making you feel pushed, and who will never stop learning how to love you better. Because for the Libra rat, love is a pursuit worth perfecting, not a conquest but a craft. Not a collision, but a dance. And once you're dancing with them, you'll never want the music to stop. Marriage, the business of love. Marriage, to a Libra born in the year of the rat, is never just a spontaneous leap of faith. It's a calculated, highly intentional choice that balances emotion with logic. It's not that they don't believe in love, they absolutely do, but they're acutely aware that passion fades, while partnership endures. For them, the idea of marriage is less about a fairy tale ending and more about a long-term alliance where romance meets responsibility. When they commit with vision. They've thought it through from every angle, emotionally, financially, practically. They've considered your potential as a co-parent, a business partner, a life companion, not just a lover. They don't just marry someone they love, they marry someone they trust with their future. That's the mindset of a Libra rat, romantic, yes, but only when reason signs the dotted line. This blend of Libra's Venus-ruled idealism and the rat's shrewd realism results in a partnership that's designed to thrive. A Libra rat doesn't just want someone to laugh and cuddle with, they want someone who can help build something. Whether it's a family, a business, or a shared lifestyle brand, the marriage must be productive, not just pleasant. They're big believers in shared goals. You'll often find them discussing investments, career strategies, or even home aesthetics with their spouse like it's a joint venture. They thrive when the marriage feels like a power couple dynamic, when each partner brings unique strengths to the table and the relationship itself becomes greater than the sum of its parts. Weak, unfocused, or dependent partners don't last long. The Libra-Rat needs someone who's got vision, discipline, and emotional intelligence. Despite their strategic mindset, they're far from cold. In fact, Libra-Rats treat marriage as something sacred, worthy of patience, kindness, and long-term nurturing. They approach it with elegance and grace, often infusing the relationship with rituals of affection, thoughtful gifts, shared experiences, and a general sense of aesthetic harmony. Their home life is usually curated to promote peace and productivity. They'll hang art, light candles, plan romantic getaways, and cook together, but there's always an undercurrent of intentionality behind the gestures. They want their marriage to feel good, but also to function well. They'll read books about communication, attend couples workshops, or initiate check-ins to keep the relationship on course. If there's trouble, they won't panic. They'll troubleshoot, but make no mistake, if after trying to restore balance the issues persist, they won't linger. Sentiment doesn't override strategy for long. Libra-Rats are deeply committed to maintaining equilibrium in their marriage, but they also expect growth. In their eyes, love is dynamic. It should evolve. Stagnation, routine, emotional laziness, these are death sentences to their romantic spirit. They want a partner who is curious about life, who adapts, learns, and reinvents. Someone who can have deep philosophical conversations one day, then brainstorm startup ideas the next. If they sense that their partner is just coasting, showing no interest in personal or mutual development, the enchantment fades. And once boredom sets in, it's incredibly hard to reverse. The Libra-Rat thrives on stimulation, mental, emotional, and even aesthetic. If their partner isn't keeping pace, they'll either push them toward growth or quietly detach. This zodiac pairing brings a level of emotional sophistication to marriage that's hard to match. They communicate well, not always with grand emotional outbursts, but with nuance, clarity, and diplomacy. They're masters of reading tone, intention, and subtext. Arguments with a Libra-Rat are rarely explosive. More often they're quiet, surgical, and unsettlingly logical. They'll point out patterns, inconsistencies, and long-term consequences with lawyer-like precision. They don't fight dirty, but they do fight smart, and they expect the same from their partner. Emotional games, shouting matches, or passive-aggressive tactics don't fly. They want maturity, and if their partner isn't capable of conflict resolution with grace and intelligence, it becomes a serious strike against long-term compatibility. Another important feature of the Libra-Rat in marriage is their sense of independence. Even when deeply in love, they need autonomy. They crave shared dreams, yes, but not codependence. They like having separate projects, hobbies, or even careers. They believe that each person in the marriage should have their own identity, their own space to grow. Too much enmeshment suffocates them. They'll start to feel like they're losing their sense of self. And when that happens, resentment builds. The ideal partner for them is someone secure. Someone who understands that true closeness is built through freedom, not fusion. Give them room to breathe, and they'll return to you with twice the love. Financial stability is another pillar of their marital strategy. Libra-Rats are planners. They think about mortgages, investments, retirement funds, and cost-benefit analysis, sometimes before even thinking about what to name future kids. They're not obsessed with money, but they are deeply concerned with security. They believe love should be lived in beautiful, well-functioning surroundings, and that requires money. Financial irresponsibility or lack of ambition is an instant red flag. They want a partner who's financially literate, future-focused, and responsible. If you blow through your paycheck with no savings plan or show no interest in contributing to a secure lifestyle, they may start planning their exit long before you realize there's a problem. Yet for all this logic, the romantic undercurrent never disappears. They enjoy anniversary traditions, handwritten notes, meaningful gifts. They believe in celebrating the relationship, through shared experiences, new goals, and sometimes even aesthetic reinventions. A new couch, a redesigned bedroom, a couple's photo shoot, it all feeds their sense of renewal. Libra-Rats hate stagnation, and they'll do whatever it takes to keep the relationship feeling fresh. They might initiate travel plans, suggest therapy or coaching, or even just propose a new weekend ritual to shake things up. They are proactive in love. Marriage, to them, is not something you fall into, it's something you cultivate. So what does marriage look like with a Libra born in the year of the rat? It's part love story, part life strategy. It's shared spreadsheets and shared sunsets. It's quiet conversations about the future and spontaneous romantic getaways. It's elegant dinners and 5-year plans. It's charm with structure, warmth with ambition. It's never chaotic, but it's never dull. And it's always evolving, always moving toward a future that's been carefully, lovingly, brilliantly designed. Sex, where subtlety meets strategy. For a Libra born in the year of the rat, sex is never just about physicality. It's a ritual of seduction, power, and emotional choreography. They don't simply seek satisfaction, they seek significance. Every touch, glance, and breath is intentional. They seduce like tacticians and love like artists. Before a single physical move is made, they've already created an atmosphere. The lighting is perfect, the playlist curated, the emotional temperature precisely tuned. Nothing is accidental. They are, above all, strategic sensualists. In their world, seduction starts long before the bedroom. It begins with a meaningful look across the room, a thoughtful compliment, a mentally stimulating conversation that slowly peels back layers of trust and intrigue. To them, the best intimacy is built, not blurted. It's not about pouncing, it's about pulling, drawing you in, moment by moment, until you can't look away. What makes their sexual energy truly distinct is its psychological depth. It's not raw lust, it's refined desire. Libra-Rats are sapiosexual by nature. They are aroused by intellect, wit, and insight. If you can challenge their mind, you've already stepped into the first chamber of their sensual world. They respond to emotional and intellectual cues with more intensity than visual stimuli. That means a smart conversation over wine can be more erotic to them than lingerie or candlelight. Of course, aesthetics still matter, they're ruled by Venus, after all, but true arousal happens when they feel seen, respected, and mentally understood. That's the real turn-on. And when all 3 levels, emotional, mental, and physical, are aligned, their sexuality becomes a quiet force of nature. Not explosive, but enveloping. Not chaotic, but consuming. They are also highly responsive lovers. They listen with their whole body. They observe micro-reactions, breathing patterns, and subtle changes in energy. Their aim is not just to perform but to connect. They often know what you want before you do, and that intuitive sensitivity makes their touch feel like a mirror to your own desires. They don't rely on mechanical repetition or ego-driven performance. For them, each experience is custom-built, adaptive, and deeply tuned to the moment. They're not in a rush. In fact, rushing ruins it. They believe that the best intimacy grows from anticipation. The build-up is everything. They want slow glances, near touches, suggestive silences, the kind of prolonged tension that eventually snaps with volcanic release. But again, this only happens once they feel emotionally and energetically aligned with their partner. Otherwise, they simply won't open up fully. Control is central to their eroticism. This doesn't mean dominance in the traditional sense. It means emotional control, energetic control, and yes, sometimes physical control, but always with nuance. Libra-Rats don't want chaos in the bedroom, they want elegance. They want to feel in command of the moment, even when they're being vulnerable. For them, pleasure is something to be crafted, not stumbled into. Mood matters, timing matters, words matter. If the vibe is off, if there's tension, confusion, or emotional static, they may physically show up but mentally shut down. Their desire is a switch that requires emotional voltage. Without it, the light just doesn't come on. But once that trust is earned, once they feel truly safe and emotionally understood, something unexpected happens. The rat's natural curiosity awakens. Beneath all that subtlety and strategy is a deeply exploratory sensual being. They become more adventurous, more playful, more open to experimentation. But this evolution is slow and sacred. They're not going to try everything on a whim. They need a reason, a rhythm, a why. They want their partner to grow with them sensually, to explore not just new acts, but new levels of vulnerability, connection, and self-discovery. This is when the real magic unfolds. When the dynamic shifts from calculated tension to creative expansion. When they're no longer just orchestrating pleasure, they're innovating it. It's also important to understand that for the Libra-Rat, shallow physical encounters hold little appeal. They don't chase bodies, they crave resonance. Casual sex, one-night stands, and meaningless flings? Rarely worth their time. Even if they do engage in them occasionally, there's a sense of detachment in the experience. Emotionally, they remain in control, reserved, almost analytical. They might enjoy the novelty, but they rarely feel fulfilled by it. What they truly desire is soul-level intimacy. A bond so layered and nuanced that it blurs the line between spiritual and sensual. They want to be undressed mentally before they're undressed physically. They want to reveal their deepest truths in whispers between skin and shadow. Even in committed relationships, their sexual expression evolves over time. It deepens, refines, and recalibrates. They don't like being predictable. They hate the idea of sex becoming mechanical or routine. That's why they're often the partner suggesting something new, sometimes subtle, like changing the setting or shifting the pace. Sometimes bold, like exploring a kink, fantasy, or unconventional form of connection. But again, nothing is done for shock value. Every move is considered, intentional, and rooted in emotional truth. They believe that erotic growth is part of emotional intimacy. They want to evolve with you, not just physically but also in the way you communicate and experience each other in those vulnerable moments. At their most fulfilled, a Libra-Rat lover becomes both your sanctuary and your spark. They offer warmth without chaos, exploration without recklessness, sensuality without superficiality. Sex, to them, is not just about climax, it's about communion. A way to recalibrate, reconnect, and realign. It's how they show care, express trust, and release tension from the outside world. When you lie with them, you're not just being touched, you're being understood. And in return, they expect the same. They want you to notice them, listen to them, and see the effort they've put into every detail. Because in the end, for the Libra-Rat, the highest form of seduction is feeling seen, safe, and inspired in the arms of someone who truly gets it. Friendship, loyal, but selective. Friendship with a Libra born in the year of the Rat is not something stumbled upon, it's something earned. They don't form deep connections out of convenience or proximity. Every bond they invest in is purposeful, curated, and emotionally negotiated over time. On the surface, they appear charming, approachable, even magnetic. People gravitate toward their calm charisma and polished presence. They know how to make others feel important, even special, without ever making it about themselves. But don't mistake this warmth for instant intimacy. Libra-Rats are sociable, but discerning. To them, most people are interesting but temporary. They're friendly with many, vulnerable with few. Real friendship, for them, isn't just chemistry. It's a combination of consistent loyalty, quiet mutual growth, and proven reliability. If you pass their many unspoken tests, you'll find yourself inside a circle that rarely expands, but never breaks. They have an almost psychological approach to people. Libras, ruled by Venus, love the social dance. They're elegant conversationalists, skilled at navigating group dynamics and making everyone feel heard. The Rat influence, however, adds a sharp layer of analysis. While they smile and engage, they're also scanning, watching behavior, patterns, values. They remember who gossips, who listens, who flakes, and who keeps promises. They clock emotional consistency like a human spreadsheet. That means their friendships are often slow burns. They might spend months or even years getting to know someone before fully trusting them. They don't chase. If you're in their life, it's because you've proven you're worth it. And once you are in, they become one of the most grounded, committed friends you'll ever have. They gravitate toward people who are intellectually curious, emotionally mature, and respectfully independent. They're not interested in chaos. They avoid those who drain energy, needy personalities, attention seekers, or people who make everything about themselves. Libra-Rats find emotional volatility exhausting, not intriguing. They won't confront you or call you out, they'll just reduce access. One day, you'll text and find the reply shorter, less engaged. Eventually, radio silence, not out of cruelty, but because they protect their peace like a fortress. They view friendship as a long-term investment. If you become a liability, mentally, emotionally, or energetically, they simply cut losses and move on. With grace, with kindness, and without looking back. As friends, Libra-Rats are quietly powerful. They're the type of friend who won't just listen to your problems, they'll analyze them, chart a strategy, and help you see solutions you never considered. They give advice that's both insightful and actionable. If you're building a business, rebranding your life, or trying to navigate a major decision, they're your secret weapon. They're naturally organized thinkers who apply logic to emotional challenges and intuition to logical ones. They won't drown you in pep talks or false hope, they'll give you a plan. But they'll do it with such empathy and subtlety, you won't even realize how much they're helping until you've already changed. They also have a keen eye for aesthetics, so don't be surprised if they help redecorate your apartment, fix your dating app profile, or recommend a book that shifts your entire worldview. Their friendship shows up in details, not declarations. They don't ask for much, but they expect balance. Reciprocity is essential. You don't need to match their energy exactly, but they need to see that you're giving something back. Emotional generosity, loyalty, consistency. If the relationship begins to feel one-sided, they won't complain, they'll detach. They're too graceful to demand attention, but too self-respecting to tolerate neglect. You may not even realize you've disappointed them until you find them pulling back, politely but firmly. Their standard isn't perfection, it's effort. Show up, be real, be consistent, and don't take more than you give. It's a silent contract, but it's non-negotiable. Their trust is slow to give, and even slower to rebuild. Betrayal, whether it's gossip, disloyalty, or even just emotional dishonesty, leaves a long-lasting scar. They don't explode when hurt, they implode. You won't get a dramatic confrontation or an emotional meltdown. You'll get distance, cold, elegant distance. You'll find yourself ghosted not out of pettiness, but because to them, trust is sacred. Once it's broken, the structure collapses. They don't rebuild it casually. In some cases, they don't rebuild it at all. If they decide the relationship compromised their peace, you won't even get a second chance. They'll cut ties so cleanly it'll feel surgical. You'll be left wondering if the friendship was ever real. It was, but now, it's history. What's ironic is how easily they make others feel close to them, even when the bond is still shallow. Their emotional intelligence, paired with their social grace, creates an illusion of intimacy that can be misleading. People often believe they're best friends with a Libra-Rat when, in fact, they've only been granted surface-level access. They do this not to deceive, but to protect themselves. They understand that not everyone deserves full emotional access. So they offer connection in doses, charming, sincere, but carefully measured. Only a handful of people ever get to see them in their rawest, most unfiltered form. And those who do, they've earned a permanent place in the vault. But once you're truly in their circle, the loyalty is next level. They're not loud about it, but they're constant. They'll show up when it matters most, during hospital visits, major life changes, or those quiet breakdowns that don't make it to social media. They'll help you rebuild without asking for credit. They'll defend you when you're not in the room. They'll keep your secrets like sacred texts. They'll offer sanctuary, strategy, and solace in one perfectly timed phone call. They're the type who remembers your wins and your wounds, who texts you after a tough meeting, who sends you a job posting because they believe in your potential. Their friendship is subtle, but it's steel beneath silk. To be friends with a Libra-Rat is to be part of a quietly elite circle, a private club of shared trust, growth, and understanding. It's not flashy, it's not chaotic, it's curated, selective, deep, and if you're lucky enough to be chosen, you'll find that behind their polished exterior is a soul that values loyalty, grace, and quiet, unwavering presence. Not everyone gets in, but those who do, they never forget the honor of being loved that carefully. Business, where the rat takes the wheel. In business, the Libra born in the year of the rat is nothing short of a power player in disguise. They rarely storm into the boardroom demanding attention, but make no mistake, they're running the room before they even speak. Their strength lies not in brashness, but in precision. The rat's gift for strategic calculation and resourcefulness pairs perfectly with Libra's refined social intuition. It's a pairing that doesn't just understand success, it engineers it. These individuals are often underestimated at first glance due to their graceful demeanor or diplomatic tone, but underestimate them at your own peril. Beneath the polished exterior is a mind that's constantly scanning, adapting, and planning 3 moves ahead. They see business as an elegant game, and they're very, very good at winning it. Rats are naturally shrewd, calculating creatures in Chinese astrology, known for their quick thinking, financial instinct, and ability to survive and thrive under pressure. Layer that with the Libra's charm, aesthetics, and people-reading abilities, and what you get is a person who can decode power structures while smiling effortlessly across a dinner table. They have an uncanny ability to read both numbers and people, forecasting trends while anticipating emotional undercurrents. In short, they know when to speak, when to listen, and when to close the deal. They're the type to notice a competitor's weakness not from a sales pitch, but from a subtle shift in body language. Then they'll exploit it, politely, strategically, and often, without ever breaking eye contact. They are natural negotiators. Libra gives them the gift of diplomacy, measured tone, elegant persuasion, graceful speech. The rat, on the other hand, gives them tactical edge. They don't bluff, they outthink. In meetings, they come off calm, cooperative, and pleasant, but every word is weighted, every question designed to reveal hidden data. They can make people feel heard while redirecting a conversation exactly where they want it to go. This makes them phenomenal in careers like law, brand strategy, real estate, politics, high-level sales, and anything involving client management or public image. They understand both the art and the science of business. The numbers matter, but so does perception. And they're masters of both. They don't leap into ventures blindly. In fact, they're risk-averse by nature, but not in a fearful way, more in a calculated one. They study trends, they analyze patterns, they ask hard questions, and they don't make a move unless the odds lean heavily in their favor. They'd rather miss a few fast wins than endure a long-term failure. When they do commit, however, they become fiercely driven. Their work ethic may not look chaotic or loud, it's not fueled by ego, but it is relentless. They will out-prepare, out-plan, and outlast their competition. They're the ones sending emails at midnight, reworking proposals, fine-tuning pitches, anticipating objections long before they're voiced. Their drive is quiet but surgical. Success isn't just a hope, it's a design they intend to execute perfectly. Another trait that elevates their business game is their ability to synthesize the abstract with the practical. Libra is visionary. They see the big picture, the brand potential, the user experience. The rat brings it back down to numbers, supply chains, costs, contracts. The result is a rare duality. They can ideate a luxury product and run the margins. They can write the speech and budget the campaign. This makes them particularly strong in entrepreneurship or roles that require both creativity and operational structure. They thrive in industries where branding, influence, strategy, and execution intersect. Their decisions are rarely spontaneous, but when they do move, it's swift and unshakable, because by that time, they've already played the entire scenario out in their head. That said, their greatest strength can sometimes become their biggest obstacle. The same Libra-Rat blend that makes them thoughtful and precise can also lead them into the trap of overanalysis. Libra struggles with indecision, always weighing options, fearing imbalance. The rat, though clever, is cautious, often hesitant to act without complete information. Together, this can result in hesitation that costs them opportunities. They might delay launching a product because the branding isn't perfect, or pass on a deal because one detail feels slightly off. Their fear of imperfection or loss can freeze their progress. They hate messy action, but sometimes, messy is where the gold is. Learning when to stop planning and start doing is a skill they have to develop over time. Yet when they strike the balance between analysis and action, they become unstoppable. Their power doesn't lie in loud ambition, but in strategic momentum. They build slowly, intelligently, often under the radar, until one day, they're at the top, and no one quite remembers how they got there. That's the Libra-Rat way, subtle domination. They won't fight for the crown. They'll outthink the throne's designer, win over the king's advisors, buy the land the castle's on, and then calmly seat themselves, completely unchallenged. That's not flair, it's foresight. In business, they are not looking for temporary highs. They are building empires, reputations, legacies. Whether they work solo or within a larger structure, they demand elegance in execution. They're the ones who find flaws in successful systems and quietly fix them without needing credit. They don't need the spotlight, but they'll often be the reason the lights stay on. Ultimately, a Libra born in the year of the rat is a masterful architect of success. They don't chase status, they create it. Their charm is calculated, their ideas visionary, and their strategies layered. They are as fluent in emotional intelligence as they are in cash flow analysis. Their journey may be quiet, their moves measured, but their results often extraordinary. In business, they don't just survive, they redefine the rules, all while making it look effortless. Dark sides, the beautiful manipulator. No one escapes their shadow, and when it comes to the Libra born in the year of the rat, that shadow is cloaked in charm, intelligence, and unsettling precision. At first glance, they seem impeccable. Stylish, articulate, composed. The kind of person you instinctively trust, admire, and maybe even envy. But behind that polished exterior lies a complex web of internal tensions, hidden motives, and emotional blind spots. Their darkness isn't chaotic or messy, it's calculated. It's not about rage or volatility, but about subtle control, internal avoidance, and quiet self-deception. This is someone whose greatest strengths, strategy, grace, intellect, can, when left unchecked, become tools for manipulation, emotional detachment, vanity, and even paralysis. The Libra-Rat's dark side isn't obvious. It's elegant, attractive, dangerous, and if you're not paying attention, you won't even know you've stepped into it until it's too late. Manipulation is perhaps the most striking of their shadow traits, not because it's always intentional, but because it's so effortlessly embedded in their personality. These individuals don't lie in the conventional sense. They rarely fabricate or deceive outright. What they do is far more refined. They frame situations to their advantage. They choose their words carefully, not just to be understood, but to shape how they are perceived. Their compliments can be tactical. Their silences can be loaded. In arguments, they often use diplomacy not as a bridge, but as a shield. Their emotional intelligence allows them to know exactly what someone needs to hear, and when to say it to either diffuse tension or subtly assert dominance. They don't overpower people, they steer them. And the most chilling part? They can do it with a smile that feels like a warm hug. Then there's their emotional detachment, a trait that hides beneath their social graces like a ghost under silk. They appear open, friendly, interested. They listen, ask questions, engage deeply. But internally, there's often a wall. Vulnerability makes them uncomfortable. They don't like emotional chaos, not in others, and especially not in themselves. So they compartmentalize. They curate their emotional expressions the same way they curate their outfits, flawless, tidy, and perfectly appropriate. Messy feelings are pushed aside, hidden beneath productivity or aesthetics. Even in romantic or deeply personal relationships, they might be present physically and mentally, but emotionally distant. It's not that they don't care, it's that caring too much feels unsafe. So they mask their inner world with the appearance of composure. They'll cry in private, analyze their breakdowns like data, and return to the world with no visible cracks. Vanity, too, plays a role in their darker dimensions. Libra, ruled by Venus, is inherently drawn to beauty, balance, and elegance. The rat, on the other hand, craves success, recognition, and status. Combined, this creates an individual who is deeply image-conscious. They're not just concerned with looking good, they need to be seen a certain way, competent, admired, untouchable. They may pour energy into curating their physical appearance, their online persona, or their professional reputation, sometimes at the expense of authenticity. They can fall into the trap of valuing how things look over how they feel. If they're not careful, this can manifest as shallow behavior, obsession with appearances, or aligning themselves with people and opportunities purely for clout. They may choose partners based on aesthetics or status, jobs based on prestige, or lifestyles based on optics, not truth. In relationships, both personal and professional, this preoccupation with image can become manipulative. They might perform empathy to avoid confrontation, flatter to control perception, or subtly shame others into compliance with social cues rather than direct requests. Their disapproval isn't loud, it's felt. And they're particularly skilled at creating environments where people want to please them without fully understanding why. It's a passive dominance, rooted not in aggression, but in influence. And while that can be a powerful leadership trait when used ethically, it becomes toxic when it's used to mask insecurity or avoid accountability. But perhaps their most self-destructive shadow is their tendency toward inaction. For all their intelligence, capability, and insight, Libra-Rats can freeze in the face of uncertainty. Libra's classic indecision, always seeing too many sides, weighing too many outcomes, blends with the rat's cautious, risk-averse nature to create a kind of elegant paralysis. They may have brilliant ideas, strong instincts, even clear opportunities, but still hesitate. Why? Because failure terrifies them. Not just failure itself, but visible failure. If they can't be sure something will succeed, they often won't even begin. They'll over-research, over-plan, second-guess, and stall. Weeks, months, even years can pass while they perfect a plan they're too afraid to execute. And because they're so good at appearing in control, others rarely notice that nothing's actually happening beneath the surface. This fear of imperfection also affects their creative and emotional lives. They might abandon a project because it's not ready to be seen. They might end a promising relationship because it doesn't match the ideal they've constructed. They might ghost an opportunity because it requires vulnerability, improvisation, or public trial and error. And each time they avoid action, their confidence quietly erodes, feeding the very fear that held them back. It becomes a cycle. High standards, delayed execution, internal frustration, further avoidance. From the outside, they may appear serene and stylish, but internally, they're battling a constant tension between potential and performance, intuition and overthinking. And here's the haunting truth. Many Libra-Rats know they're doing this. They're self-aware enough to recognize their patterns. But awareness doesn't always translate into change, especially when the fear of being less than perfect has been deeply ingrained. They want to show up, to risk, to leap, but they crave certainty more than growth. So they remain in beautifully designed cages of their own making, surrounded by unfinished projects, polite conversations, and perfectly arranged facades. It's not laziness, it's fear, dressed as refinement. Despite all of this, their shadows don't make them malicious. Most Libra-Rats don't manipulate to harm, detach to punish, or obsess over image to dominate. These are protective behaviors, developed over time, shaped by high sensitivity and an intense desire for control. Their darkness is often rooted in the same place as their brilliance, a need to make life beautiful, secure, and meaningful. But when the shadows take over, that pursuit of perfection becomes a prison, and their relationships, both personal and professional, can suffer. Understanding the dark side of the Libra-Rat is essential not just for those who love them, but for the Libra-Rat themselves. Because when they learn to face their fear of vulnerability, act despite uncertainty, and let go of their need to control how others see them, they don't lose their power, they amplify it. And suddenly, the charm that once hid manipulation becomes influence with integrity. The detachment gives way to connection. The vanity softens into authenticity. And the paralysis transforms into purpose. That's when they truly shine, not just beautifully, but bravely. Life goals, building beauty that lasts. For a Libra born in the year of the rat, life is not about scrambling for attention or chasing shallow wins, it's about crafting something meaningful and enduring. Their deepest life goal isn't just personal success, but the ability to bring harmony and elegance into the world around them. Whether it's through a well-run business, an intentional family life, a thoughtful creative legacy, or a quietly influential leadership role, they are driven to shape environments where beauty and order coexist. But their version of beauty isn't just visual, it's philosophical. It's about balance, structure, and sustainability. The Libra-Rat doesn't just want to make things pretty. They want to make things work. Their ambitions are rarely loud or impulsive. They're intentional, deeply rooted, and designed to last well beyond trends or noise. Harmony through influence is their unspoken mantra. While some people chase clout or control, the Libra-Rat focuses on alignment. They want their surroundings, relationships, and pursuits to reflect a refined sense of inner order. And they're willing to do the work to get there, not by force, but through social and intellectual strategy. Their life goals often center around building systems where people feel seen, valued, and productive. They may not shout their values from rooftops, but they design lives and environments that quietly reinforce them. If they launch a company, it's not just to make money, it's to solve a real problem, build a sustainable model, and cultivate a positive culture. If they raise a family, they do it with intention, instilling principles, nurturing emotional intelligence, and creating a safe, aesthetic space for everyone to thrive. Their goals, always, orbit around contribution, not chaos. One of the most unique aspects of their ambition is how seamlessly they blend function with form. Libra gives them an eye for design, social flow, and interpersonal grace. Rat gives them pragmatic, detail-focused execution. This combination means they're rarely satisfied with surface-level achievements. If they're building a career, it has to mean something. If they're starting a brand, it has to stand for something. They have no interest in flashy success that lacks depth. Everything they pursue is filtered through the lens of balance, strategy, and timeless relevance. They may take longer to launch projects or make decisions, but once they do, their work carries an unmistakable signature, thoughtful, polished, and meticulously layered. In many ways, their life goal is to become a bridge, a connector of people, disciplines, and ideas, and to do so with lasting impact. While they are often drawn to leadership roles, the way they lead is distinctly graceful. They don't crave the spotlight in the way traditional power seekers do. Instead, they prefer positions where they can direct the flow of things behind the scenes or through carefully curated visibility. They want to be respected, not worshipped. Admired, but not overwhelmed by fame. They thrive in roles where elegance is power, where ideas lead the room, not egos. This makes them ideal for leadership in creative industries, diplomacy, education, luxury branding, and thoughtful entrepreneurship. They rarely bulldoze their way into success, they orchestrate it. And because they do it with subtlety, people often underestimate how much influence they actually wield, until they look around and realize this quiet figure has shaped the entire atmosphere. Their dreams are vast, but never reckless. Libra-Rats plan big. They visualize the end before they even start, reverse engineering each step with careful precision. They're not the type to chase every shiny object, they focus. They build one thing at a time, laying foundations brick by brick. Every goal they chase is filtered through a deeply analytical lens. Will this last? Does this align with who I want to become? Does this reflect my values? It's a slower path than some are willing to take, but it's one that rarely ends in burnout or regret. When others are on their third career pivot or dealing with fallout from impulsive decisions, the Libra-Rat is steadily progressing, crafting a legacy of substance. And the best part? They often make it all look effortless, even when it isn't. Of course, their journey is not without internal struggle. With such high standards and a strong desire for perfection, the Libra-Rat can easily fall into the trap of hesitation. Their dreams are often so carefully imagined that they become afraid to start them at all. They fear imperfection. They fear being judged before the final product is polished. And worst of all, they fear making a mistake that could tarnish the integrity of their vision. This internal pressure can delay progress, or worse, lead to inaction. They may spend years planning a business they never launch, outlining a book they never write, imagining a lifestyle they never commit to living. It's not laziness, it's fear disguised as discernment. Their life goals are big, but the voice in their head asking, "What if it's not perfect?" can be paralyzing if not managed. But when they learn to take action, even imperfect action, their growth becomes exponential. Because the truth is, they already possess everything needed to build something exceptional: vision, intelligence, taste, and discipline. What they often lack is simply permission. Permission to start before everything is figured out. Permission to fail and refine. Permission to take up space without apology. Once they grant themselves this, they become unstoppable creators of beauty and influence. Their businesses flourish not just because of product, but because of ethics and user experience. Their families thrive because of communication and trust. Their communities shift because of quiet leadership. They don't need to be loud to change the room. They simply need to own the room they've spent their whole life preparing to walk into. In the end, the ultimate life goal of the Libra-Rat is legacy. Not just personal success, but something bigger, something that ripples outward. They want to be remembered not for what they had, but for what they built. Systems, cultures, brands, relationships, ideas. They want their life to feel like a well-written novel, cohesive, intentional, beautiful from cover to cover. Every chapter crafted with care. Every page worth turning. And when they reach the final line, they don't want applause. Just quiet recognition that they lived with vision, and left something behind that will last. So, who is the Libra born in the year of the rat? They are thinkers who feel, lovers who strategize, dreamers with a blueprint. They don't move through the world recklessly or blindly. They glide, observe, and anticipate. Every decision, from what they wear to who they trust, is run through a quiet but complex internal algorithm. These are people who are constantly gathering data, not just numbers, but emotional signals, social cues, subtle shifts in tone. They process the world like a symphony, and they play every note with purpose. You'll never catch them in loud displays of ego or messy drama. Instead, they're the ones subtly shaping the energy of the room, crafting conversations like art, making you feel important, while also mentally mapping out their next 3 moves. They're soft power incarnate, unassuming on the outside, but intellectually and emotionally formidable on the inside. Their minds are always on. While some live impulsively or reactively, the Libra-Rat lives intentionally. They know the power of pause, the weight of a well-timed silence, the value of observation before action. Even in moments of play or relaxation, they are scanning, evaluating, connecting dots others don't see. This makes them excellent strategists in both life and love. They don't just think ahead, they live ahead. And yet, despite their tactical mindset, they're not cold. They feel deeply, but they don't broadcast it. Their emotions are private and often processed alone, in the quiet hours when no one is watching. This duality, of logic paired with feeling, strategy wrapped in softness, is what makes them so compelling. They can be your calm in the storm and the storm behind the calm, all at once. Emotionally, they are careful. Guarded, yes, but not inaccessible. They require time, safety, and intellectual connection before they open fully. Trust, for them, is a long-term investment, not an impulsive gift. They won't overshare on a first meeting, nor will they wear their hearts on their sleeves. But once they let you in, you'll find a depth that is startling in its intensity. They remember everything, not just facts, but feelings. The way you looked the first time you laughed with them. The pause in your voice when you mentioned your childhood. They hold emotional information like sacred text. And while they may not say it outright, they care deeply. That's why they're so selective with their energy, because when they give it all. In relationships, romantic, platonic, or professional, they are builders. Not just of love or connection, but of systems, goals, shared futures. They don't want to exist next to you, they want to build with you. Whether it's creating a home, designing a lifestyle, launching a dream, or raising a family, the Libra-Rat thrives in co-creation. But only if the energy is mutual. They don't do one-sided effort. They will never beg for attention or chase someone who isn't bringing equal substance to the table. Their time is valuable, their presence is earned. If they invest in you, it's because they see real potential, not just for happiness, but for evolution. You don't stay the same when you love a Libra rat. You grow, because they expect it, model it, and inspire it. They are quietly ambitious, not in the obvious, flashy way, but in the deeply rooted, always building kind of way. They're not interested in temporary highs or surface-level wins. They're thinking legacy, longevity, systems that outlast them. Whether they're artists, entrepreneurs, analysts, educators, or creatives, they do their work with intention. Their career isn't just a job, it's an extension of their values. They often pour energy into roles that let them blend impact with elegance, creativity with structure. They may appear relaxed, even effortless, but underneath is a person who is constantly refining, improving, elevating. They don't need applause, they need results. Recognition is nice, but meaning is non-negotiable. They're the architect who redesigns a broken system, the strategist who reshapes a stagnant brand, the partner who helps you reinvent your entire self, just by loving you right. Despite all their grace and poise, they have a darker edge. A shadow side. They can be controlling, but subtly so. They can manipulate, but usually without malice. They can detach in an instant if trust is broken, and you may never see them again. They don't throw tantrums. They exit, silently, finally, and that, in many ways, is their deepest power. They don't fight for space, they redefine it. They won't try to prove their worth. They'll just leave, and suddenly, the room feels colder. They don't announce their value. They let you feel the absence of it. Their standards are high, not out of arrogance, but because they've learned what peace costs, and they're no longer willing to pay with their time or energy. So, who is the Libra born in the year of the rat? They are a masterclass in duality, calm but intense, kind but calculating, present but always planning. They are people of rare insight, exquisite taste, and strategic power. And if you're lucky enough to be in their inner circle, if they've chosen you, understand what that means. You've been hand-selected by someone who does not waste love, trust, or time. You've been seen, measured, and accepted by a person who demands excellence, starting with themselves. And if you're wise, you'll hold on to that connection. Because Libra rats don't come crashing into your life like fire, they drift in like mist and change the landscape forever. Quietly, beautifully, and permanently. If this breakdown fascinated you, make sure to like, subscribe, and check out other videos and content linked below. Dive deeper into the zodiac universe, and unlock more insights into the people around you, and yourself. See you in the next one.